Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday. It is March the 8th. We just got some numbers that were kind of ugly. We got China news that was kind of soft, and we are moving. This is why I'm looking at our daily chart. We are moving right into this old resistance slash new support area. So there are going to be some buyers floating around this region. The question is, how many of them are there? And do they have the strength to push sellers out of the way? If we do not have the pressure as buyers to hold this edge, sellers will drift us lower. If we are looking as aggressive sellers to come into the space, what should we do? Well, we're going to be looking for the failed retest of this area right around 27.44 to 27.46. Let's move back to the 4-hour chart. You're going to see where that really begins to break down. I would suspect maybe it's a little bit higher even than that, but you can see the big breakdown in the price action and the deep momentum that's showing us that we have a problem. If we come back and begin to hold, say, 34 to 37, look at the auction vacuum right here. We could easily get back into 40, but getting up over this, yeah, I'd say it's probably 46 that we need to get up and over, and then pull back and test this region that is the volume point of control right now. Everything forcing us downward. It's just a massive wash. A lot of trapped buyers and a lot of sellers finally saying, oh my gosh, here we are, here it is. And that's what's actually happening right now. For the NQ, same sort of thing. That support action really already been broken, 69.95. And so the next line in the sand is likely to be, well, here's the real old resistance, new support edge, but they are going to try and battle around this zone here at 69.30. That's what's going to make for that. If all of a sudden everybody says, all right, there we are, there it is, that's my flush for my day, and we are extremely oversold. Listen, we can stay oversold a really long time, all right? So what happens if, however, we rotate and move into the other side of the formation? That means what we would have to do is, one, fail to head lower, which is not occurring at this juncture. Certainly, we continually make lower lows and lower highs, but we fail to head lower and we recapture these edges, ultimately holding the volume point of control at around 70.13, and that's going to give us a little bit of room to do a bounce pass. Here's the thing, you see this motion? All the bounces are going to be into sell zones. That's just it. That is what it is. Okay, now taking a look at the YM, you can see this downward motion here. It's breaking that support zone, which is well below the number we were looking at, right? We were looking at 25,380, somewhere around there. Now it's headed lower, and then the next stair step below that is the 25,000 number. And you know, we really didn't spend a whole lot of time around there with as much as people were talking about that number. So that's going to be pretty interesting, okay? If we have Kaufman adaptive moving average floating around here, that's the 100 area, that's going to put us down at the 24,900, and you can see that old resistance, new support zone, really around 24,878. So there's quite a bit to go if this chart does not hold. Remember, everything we should be looking at right now are bounces into selling spaces, and those selling spaces will only give us a shot of stopping if we fail to head lower. And right now, we're not failing to head lower. We do have some technical divergence, but technical divergence means nothing until price action starts to mirror it. That gets a lot of us in trouble. We start trading our indicators instead of trading price action, and that makes for a very messy patch. Everything ought to be downside here, folks. We are aggressively looking for support zones. Here's the big one that we just lost here in oil. That, I mean, of course, if the job number is bad, then demand is going to be lower. And see, a ton of people are bullish here. So it's only the deep pockets that are going to win. See the break of the wedge that I've been talking about? Now let's measure this wedge, and we're going to use a Fibonacci. And if we use a Fibonacci in this wedge, and we measure the high to low, we're going to see that we're first breaking down here, And our next support zones are going to be 54, 64, and we can see that looking fairly nice in that space. And then further at 54.28. And I tell you, if you're long oil, the best place in my mind, if you're thinking about going long and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, because technically you saw this kind of wedge formation, let it drift, because this region at 54 could hold. If you trade it there and it gets to 55 and it can't move out, you know you've got a further step downward. And right down here, the 53.50 area is a great region to pick this chart up. Absolutely would love to see it come in there, because that is where the real buying pressure is in my mind. Listen, it might be a bullish chart, but what you have to exercise as a trader is an immense amount of patience to wait for it to come into your region so that you don't have to say, wait a second, what is my risk here? And if you're in a wedge and you go long at the base of a wedge and that base breaks because of technical momentum and bad news that comes across, then all of a sudden you've got the width of the widest part of the wave in the wedge as your risk. And it can come all the way back down here, all the way. All right, now, should buyers come in and stop it from there? Yes. Here is a low volume event right around 54.30 that could hold up, but the news today was pretty bad, and so the chart should fade quite dramatically, bring us into frontline support once more, and we're off to the races on the long side. Take a look at this. We've talked about this. I said, hey, listen, what you have to do is the following. You have to wait for it to get above 1294, pull back and hold the breakout levels. Well, regrettably, that happened in the early morning event. For the person that said, hey, listen, I'm going to buy and sell a little bit and buy and sell a little bit, and you're still in the game, this is a beautiful expansion zone. We are at the first marker of resistance, and look, there's no volume here. So we could easily press forward. A lot of people that might be short in gold easily press forward and squeeze them all the way up into maybe even this level. But as I mentioned, this is the bottoming formation. Watch for it to rotate back. I believe this move is overdone. If it rotates back shallowly, you can trade it, but if it stops heading higher, you are to cut and run. All right, good luck trading today, folks. See you on Monday.